Coach Perez here with Dr. Joshua Culbreath, one of the greatest athletes, not only in track and field, but the world has ever seen. Dr. Josh, we were talking about the great Johnny Woodruff and some of the accomplishments that he did during his lifetime. Doc, you told me a phenomenal story about how he stopped in a race. Could you please reflect on that? Because that's a story that needs to go on the rest of our lives and beyond us.
Well, Rich, you asked a question about one of the greatest athletes of all time. Johnny was born in a little place called Connorsville, Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh. And I had the pleasure of going to see John before he left us to go on to a bigger and better place. He passed away on November the 30th of 2007 in a place called Fountain Hills, Arizona, and left his widow, Rosa, who is one of the greatest inspirations he could have asked for. Johnny, as an athlete in Pittsburgh, was an exceptional athlete. He was approximately 6 feet 6. They call him Daddy Longlegs. Long John was the name he had, and he was an exceptional athlete. He was a freshman at the University of Pittsburgh when he made the 1936 Olympic team that went to Berlin. He was a half miler. Johnny was one individual that people knew was going to be an exceptional athlete. He had natural ability. Well, let's get on to where he went with this. He, in attending that school at Pittsburgh, I found out about him through his roommate, who was a man by the name of Erzy Brown, who was born in a little place called Norristown, Pennsylvania. Well, Mr. Erzy Brown was my Scott master, and he had won, they said, a state championship for our Norristown High School in Pennsylvania by himself. He had scored enough points to win a state championship in the track. There was a guy by the name of Mr. Charles Blockson, whose son became one of the great black historians in the world, whose father contributed to his points in that, winning that championship. Well, Johnny and Mr. Brown became very, very close friends and inseparable. And listening to John tell me, Mr. Brown could have made that Olympic team in '36 had he tried. But let's get on with John. John made the Olympic team, went to Berlin. Now, he was the only black man in the finals of the 800 meters in Berlin. Everyone knew he was the man to beat. Well, John took everything in stride. He knew he had to get out there because these guys are going to play games on him. The games they were going to play, box him in, because he's the one we have to beat. If we can keep him out and keep him in behind us and keep him in the box, one of us can win, and thus for the strategy. Well, they did just that. They boxed John in. He couldn't get out. They had just passed the 400 meter when the bell rang. 2 laps to the 800 meters. John knew if he tried to use his elbows that he would be disqualified for disrupting the other runners and also trying to get out illegally because he couldn't get 2 strides ahead. So what did he do? John stopped. Amazing. He stopped. Never in history have a man done this in any race, not like the Olympic game. So when he did, he was spiked twice by runners who were coming past. When he did this, then he gracefully moved out into the outer lane. Now he had approximately 300 meters to go, and he has to catch up from a standing start. Never done before. But he went down the back stretch little by little. He pulled up and pulled each one of the guys in a little at a time, 1 yard here, 1 yard there. When he came down off of the curve into the home stretch, John Woodruff was in about 4th position. From here, he called upon everything that he'd had and everything he had trained for, because this was a big one. And as he came and approached the last 50 meters, he gave on this explosive kick that people had never thought would be humanly possible. After stopping in a race, John Woodruff not only passed everybody, he not only won the Olympic gold medal, but he set a new Olympic record. That's what you call one of the greatest feats of all time. It was outshadowed only by Jesse Owens' 4 gold medals. That's why people never heard about the great John Woodruff, who was one of the greatest middle distance runners in the world. I did a tape on him that he gave me his life story. And at one time, John supposedly broke the world's indoor record for a mile but it was never recognized. They never recognized also he held the world's record for 880. He had broken it, but there was a discrepancy somehow between a white runner who had run on the same track and given a world record, which John broke on the same track, but it was stated that it may have been a little short when John ran. The great John Woodruff will always be remembered by me because I loved him for the man that he was, and he was my friend. This is Josh Culbreath.
Dr. Josh, thank you. Rich Perez from Las Vegas. We're out in front of Valley's 1999, 2008. I'll tell you, Josh, we've been here a long time in Vegas. We're going on 10 years, and I want to thank you for all you do. You're such a great humanitarian, and I'm so glad you were able to reflect on that story.
Thank you, Richard. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.